Children, on day before yesterday, we have started the last chapter in our supplementary book, Moments. And the last chapter is given in the form of a Russian story, The Beggar. It is written by Anton Chekhov. And as you know that Anton Chekhov is a very famous Russian writer, a Russian playwright and short story writer. Anton Chekhov is one of the greatest and renowned writer of short fiction and history. While he was doing medicine in the University of Moscow, student, you know Moscow is the capital of Russia. In writing short stories, after graduating in 1884, he worked as a freelance writer and journalist related to the comics. Chekhov had the first written stories only for financial gain. But as his artistic ambition grew, he made formal innovations which has influenced him very much, and very soon he became a famous short story writer of English. His career as a playwright produced four classics, and his vast short stories are held in high esteem by writers and critics. This story, The Beggar, is about precarious advocate Mr. Sarzai and a beggar Luskov. The kind hearted advocate helped the depraved beggar to come out of his miserable life and live like a respectable person. However, in the end, he discovered that he was not the actual benefactor but his ill tempered cook Olga. And in the last, you came to know that Olga was responsible for the improvement of the character of this beggar. And as I explained you in my previous video, that this beggar Luskov was only destroying his career, and the writer and his servant helped him to live a life of respect and honesty. Now, as the writer provided him the work of chopping the wood in his home, so it will become so beneficial for this beggar that he changed his behavior completely. Now, after the explanation of this story, I will give you the short summary. Anton Chekhov's famous story, The Beggar, tells a moving story of a beggar named Luskov. By chance, he meets an advocate named Sergei. Sergei firstly is called him and then inspire him to work. In the beginning, Luskov is not keen to do manual labor, however, he accepts it reluctantly. Later, his whole life gets transformed when Sergei meets Luskov after 2 years in a theater. He is pleased to know that Luskov has become a notary and he is leading a respectable life. Now, in my previous video, I have explained you thoroughly the story, and after giving him the work of writing in the office of a advocate, now after 2 years, because when Laskov get the work of writing, composing, then after getting a respectable work, he left to come on the physical work to his home. Now 2 years passed, and Sergei forget about this person. Now it was the event that after 2 years Mr. Sergei meets him. 2 years bent. Students open page number 65 and the second last paragraph. 2 years went by. Then one evening, as Sergei was standing at the ticket window of a theatre, Mr. Sergei was standing on the ticket window of a theatre paying for his seat. He noticed a little man beside him with a coat collar of curly fur and a worn sealskin cap. The little individual timidly asked the ticket seller for a seat in the gallery and paid for it in copper coins. Now, this man asked the ticket seller to give him the costliest ticket, and he paid copper coins for this ticket. Laskov, is that you? At once, Mr. Sergei asked, are you Laskov? Recognizing in the little man his corner boot chopper. तुम वही हो ना, boot chopper? How are you? What are you doing? Now, what are you doing here? How is everything with you? How have you changed? Everything has been changed with you. Now, Mr. Laskov is giving full the introduction of his changing life to the respected advocate Mr. Sergei. All right, I am a notary now. कहता मैं अब एक नॉटरी हूँ, and I am paid 35 rubles a month. And I am paid, और मुझे जो है 35 rubles per month मिलते हैं. Now, Mr. Sergei was amazed to hear the successful story of this person. Thank heaven, that's fine. I am delighting for your sake. Now Mr. Sergei said that I am delighting for your sake. I am very happy, very glad. मैं बहुत खुश हूँ. Laskov, you see, you are my godson. Just you are my godson in a sense. I gave you a push along the right path. सही रास्ते पर चलने के लिए मैंने तुम्हें एक धक्का दिया था. You know, do you remember what a roasting I gave you? At that time, I have roasting you. Yeah, I nearly had you sinking into the ground at my feet that day. Thank you, old man, for not forgetting my words. I can't forget your words, and your words have changed me completely, and you have given me to live a respected life. Thank you too, said Laskov. If I hadn't come to you, then I might still have been calling myself a teacher or a student or this day. कि अगर मैं तुम्हारे संपर्क में नहीं आता तो आज भी मैं झूठ बोलकर भीख मांग रहा होता, अपने आप को या स्टूडेंट कहता या टीचर कहता. This day, yes, by flying to your protection, I dragged myself out of a pit. By flying to your protection, but your protection has given me and inspired me to live a respected life. I dragged myself out of this pit. और तुम्हारी प्रेरणा से मैंने अपने आप को उस गड्ढे से निकाल लिया. I am very glad indeed. I am very glad. Then Sergei said that I am very glad to see your improvement in your life. Thank you for your kind words and deeds. Again, Laskov thanked him for his kind words and his good deeds. I am very grateful to you and to your cook. Again, Laskov told Mr. Sergei that I am very thankful to you and to your cook. God bless that good and noble woman. भगवान उस नोबल वुमेन को आशीर्वाद दे. यू स्पोक फाइनली देन, एंड आई शैल बी इन डेब्ट टू यू माई डाइंग डे. और मैं मरते दम तक जो है आपका ऋणी रहूँगा. बट स्ट्रिक्टली स्पीकिंग इट वॉज योर कुक ओल्गा. बट स्ट्रिक्टली आई एम एक्सेप्टिंग इट, वेरी फ्रेंकली आई एम एक्सेप्टिंग इट, दैट इट वॉज योर कुक ओल्गा हु शेव्ड मी, जिसने मुझे बचा लिया. हाउ इज दैट? दैट मिस्टर Sergei asked him that what is the role of Olga in your life? When I used to come to your house, जब मैं आपके घर आया, to chop the wood, लकड़ी काटने के लिए, she used to begin, oh, you short, you miserable creature, there is nothing for you but ruin. You are only destroying yourself. You are ruined yourself. And then she would sit down opposite me, मेरे opposite बैठ जाती थी, and grow sad. Look into my face and weep. मेरे चेहरे को देखती थी और रोती थी. Oh, you unlucky man. There is no pleasure for you in this world, and there will be none in the world to come. What is the use of that you have come in this world? You are only destroying your life, you drunkard, अरे पियक्कड़ शराबी. You will burn it in hell. तुम्हें नरक में भी तुम्हें जलाया जाएगा. Oh, you are happy one. Oh, now Laskov is telling about the changing of his character when Olga has changed his life completely. Then, when he reached to the house of Mr. Sarjai, then at that time he was so weak that he was unable to chop the boots. Then Olga addressed him by different words. You drunkard, you will burn in hell. Oh, you unhappy one. That and so she would carry on, in that strain. I can't tell you how much misery she suffered. उस दौरान उसने कितना सफ़र किया मेरे लिए. आई कांट टेल यू हाउ मैनी टीयर्स शी शेड फॉर माई sake. How many tears she had shed for my sake. But the chief thing was she But the cheap thing was in this that she used to chop the wood for me because due to my alcoholic nature, I was unable to do any physical work. So, instead of me, she always cheap the wood for me. Do you know, sir, that I did not chop one single stick of for you. मैंने आपके घर में कभी एक सिंगल स्टिक भी नहीं फाड़ी for you. She did it. All these things, all this physical labor was done by Olga for me. Why this saved me? Why this saved me? Why I changed? Why I stopped drinking at the sight of her? I cannot explain. How I improved myself? I can't explain you these words. I only know that owing to her words and noble deeds, a change took place in my heart, and I was guilty. I was feeling guilty myself in my heart, and I decided that I will change completely myself. That's why I stopped drinking, and I have determined that I will settle my life, and for her sake, I will change myself. She set me right, and I shall never forget it. And she has shown me the new way of life, and I have never forget it. However, it is true to go now. There goes the well, Laskov ward and desperate to the gallery. इतना कह के जो लेस्कॉफ है वहाँ से चला जाता है, गैलरी में चला जाता है. इट वॉज द टाइम दैट द period was going on and the show was the show of the theater but going on start. Now student, I want to tell you the summary of this story in a few minutes. Now you have to learn it very carefully. Sarji was an advocate. One day a beggar met him and asked him for him to have pity on me. करा मुझ पे थोड़ी दया दिखाओ. The beggar told Sarjai that for 8 years he was a village school teacher. कि 8 साल पहले वह village school teacher था. Then he lost his job and at last he lost his job. Sarjai felt that he had seen the man somewhere. His raised overcoat, his dull, drunken eyes, and red spot in his either cheek seemed familiar to Sarjai. On holding at his overshoes, one of which was high and other low, he remembered something. Meanwhile, the beggar further told Sarjai that he had an offer for a job in the province of Kalwa. Then advocate Mr. Sarjai had offered a job to the beggar. The beggar asked Sarjai for some money so that he could go there. वो कहता है मुझे थोड़ा पैसा दे दो जिससे कि मैं वहाँ चला जाऊँ. But Sarjai now remembered that he had met the same beggar in Sadobia Street. Now Mr. Sarjai is remembering that he had met this beggar in the Sadobia Street. Sarjai reminded him that then he had told him that he was a student. Then at that time he had told him that he was a student who had been expelled from the college. Sarjai called him a liar and swindler. Sarjai से कहता है तुम एक झूठे हो, धोखेबाज हो. Taken aback, the beggar told Sarjai that his name was Laskov. Now, the beggar told Mr. Sarjai his name. In fact, he was formerly a singer in a Russian choir. In fact, I was a singer and had sent away because of his drunkenness. And he has started drinking wine. So, due to this bad habit, he was sent away from this as a singer. Laskov asked Sergei what else he could do, as no one could give him anything if he told the truth. That he explaining the reality of the life to Mr. Sergei that no one is ready to give him the work. Sergei told him that he could chop the wood for him. At once, Mr. Sergei provided him work of chopping the wood. Now, Laskov was entrapped by his own words. अब लस्कॉफ जो है अपनी बातों में फंस गया था. For he reluctantly agreed out of the shame and pride. Sergei asked his cook Olga to take him into the woodshed. सर्जय उसे अपनी जो कुक थी उनकी ओल्गा उससे कहते हैं इसको बूट शेड में ले जाओ एंड लेट हिम चॉप बूट और उन्हें लकड़ी काटने के लिए दे दो. इट वॉज ऑब्वियस दैट हिज स्ट्रेंथ हैड डिटोरियोनेटेड ड्यू टू ड्रिंकिंग एंड ही डिड नॉट हैव टू स्लाइएस्ट इंक्लिनेशन फॉर हार्ड लेबर. बट द प्रॉब्लम इज हियर दैट लस्कॉफ ड्यू टू हिज habit of drinking had lost his physical strength and he was unable to do the hard work like the wood chopping. Sergei saw from the window and his dining room that Olga flung down an axe on his feet. At once her cook Olga flung down an axe, spat angrily. She seemed to have scolded him as well. It appeared that he was not able to chop wood properly. It was appearing Olga that he was unable to do any physical work. Sergei felt sorry that and was ashamed of himself for having set a spoiled, drunken, perhaps a sick man to work as mental labor in the cold. However, an hour later, Olga told Sergei that the wood had been chopped. ओल्गा आके बताती है मिस्टर सरजई को कि जो है सभी लकड़ी जो है वो चॉपिंग हो गई है. द चॉपिंग वर्क वाज ओवर. सो सरजई आस्क्ड हर टू गिव लस्कॉफ हाफ ए रूबल. तो लस्कॉफ उसको जो है हाफ रूबल देने के लिए वह कहता है. देन अगेन ऑन द फर्स्ट डे ऑफ द मंथ लस्कॉफ मेड हिज अपीयरेंस. लस्कॉफ अगेन अर्नड हाफ ए रूबल ऑल्दो ही कुड वेयरली स्टैंड ऑन हिज लेग्स. नाउ एंड देन लस्कॉफ ऑफन अपीयर्ड इन सरजाइज हाउस. अब कभी कभी वह आ जाता था उनके घर में. एवरी टाइम वर्क एज फाउंड फॉर हिम. उसे कोई ना कोई काम दे दिया जाता था. ही यूज टू सॉवेल स्नो, पुट द वुड शीड इन ऑर्डर टू डस्ट अगेन द मैट्रेस. विभिन्न टाइप के घरेलू काम करता था फॉर हिज वर्क. लस्कॉफ वॉज गिवन 20 to 40 कॉपेक्स. उसे 20 to 40 कॉपेक्स मिलते थे. वन सरजाई इवन सेंट टू ए pair of old trousers for him. Sergei had also hired Laskov to help in the packing of the hauling of the furniture. Now Sergei has started to giving him the different work in another house. This time he appeared to be sober and in the slyest. Laskov practically did nothing, nor did he pretended to appear busy. He only shivered in the cold. Laskov became embarrassed when the carters mocked him for the idleness and his feebleness and his ragged fancy overcoat. After the shifting was over, Sergei gave him ruble and offered him a cleaner employment. Now he had offered him a new work of cleaner. He asked him to meet his friend and advised him to work hard and not to drink. He has also introduced him to a friend and advised him that he had to give up the drinking and he had to work hard honestly in his life. Now the life of Laskov was completely changed. After 2 years, one evening, that such type of a story today I have completed, and this is the whole over the summary. And thus, in this way, Mr. Sarjai and his cook Olga had completely changed the life of a beggar. Now, such like a drunken beggar, Laskov was living a life of honesty, and when after 2 years in a theater, Mr. Sarjai went meet Mr. Laskov, then he came to know that now he was living a respectable life of a notary advocate now, and he was earning a respectable money from the government. Now, with this video, your syllabus in literature and from this session is over, and very soon I will send you the PDF, complete PDF of this chapter, and you have to write it with word winnings, and we will after it we will start at the revision work. Okay students, goodbye.